I don't typically talk a lot about sex on this channel, but what comes up for me today is in my marriage, my 25-year marriage, sex was a Band-Aid. So for two, we met very young. So we didn't have a lot of emotional tools, none. And so the way that we were able to be vulnerable and connected with each other was in the bed. And I think that might be true for many young couples, right? Because obviously you're literally naked and vulnerable. And so your heart opens a little in sex, even if you're not in a committed relationship. And obviously we were. And we had the luxury, we lived together for 5 years before we got married. And in that time, we had the luxury of really getting to know each other's bodies, each other, whatever. So obviously as the comfort level builds, I believe sex gets better. There's more trust. You're not as afraid to be vulnerable. But what happened to us is that because I did not know how to ask for what I needed, the only way I knew how to get connection is through sex. So I would initiate it at every turn. So on the surface, we look like the greatest couple ever because we're having a lot of sex. We look very passionate with each other, and yet no PDA. It was like, unless we were in the bed, it was like we were buddies. That's it. Big wall. So that's another thing. So that just is a symbol of like the fact that I didn't know how to connect with him any other place in the bed. And so like, I don't really lay this even on him. I lay this on me because I didn't know how to do it. So what happens is when you fall into that myth of we love each other because we're so sexually active with each other, you know, I used cum as the glue of my marriage for a long time. But when the bottom fell out, we were still fucking like rabbits, but it was so mechanical. It was mechanical. So what I ask you today is, in your intimate relationships, where is your source of connection? Is it the beautiful art of raising a family together? Is it physical touch? Is it in the bed? Or is it just physical touch as in like arm around, hand on the small of your back? Or is it connection through dialogue, through common interest and values? Those are all valid things. There's no hierarchy for those. It's whatever feeds each of you. But I ask you today to look at your primary relationship and define for yourself, where is your touchstone for connection? Because I think that it will help you see a lot about yourself. And if it's multifaceted, amazing, good for you. If single faceted, that's still absolutely fine. I really had a beautiful marriage for much of those 25 years based on attraction. Not that we didn't get along, but that's what it was based on. And that's perfectly okay. And it really was enough for me for a long time. So I ask you to look at that today and give yourself a little blessing in that you're able to find that place of connection. And I will see you tomorrow.